VHA patients, unlike any other health care consumers in America, should be able to self-refer to doctors, hospitals, or clinic outside their own federally funded network and in-house care delivered by the VHA. And they want you, the consumer, to be able to go, to have the freedom to make an uneducated guess. That's what they want. If you're aware of the VA or Veterans Affairs is the publicly funded healthcare system that we give to our veterans after they've come back from war zones. This is a system very similar to Medicare, but in a way is separate just because it's geared more towards veterans' healthcare and their much more specific and unique needs. The VA is funded, as Medicare and Social Security are, by taxes, and receive their budgets from from the federal government and a piece of that. Personally, I think we should probably be putting a little bit more money into making sure that veterans get the health care they need after they go and I'm not fighting wars, but they put their bodies on the line. But unfortunately, the VA is coming under attacks from the GOP. Again, never let us forget. Republicans talk a big game about being fans of the military, but they're the first ones to want to privatize the VA. And one might say, but Josh, privatization, it's really gonna increase the efficiency. It's really gonna do a lot to make the system run a bit better. And and the system, and the way the VA works right now, just it's not functioning the way it should or could be. And the real answer to that is fund the VA. Make sure that it's well funded, well staffed, hiring good doctors, everything in between. But Republicans aren't usually interested when they're in power in funding the VA. Instead, they'd like to privatize it. They would like to turn the VA into the same system that the rest of us live under until we get to Medicare. And then, thank God. So let's go take a look. Funding from the Department of Veterans Affairs was one of many federal budget items that suddenly became uncertain during the debt ceiling showdown this spring. Despite their Despite their oft-professed love for veterans, House Republicans voted for the Limit Save Grow Act in late April, which would have cut VA spending by 22%. That's almost a quarter of the funding that you would need to offer healthcare to veterans, and they are willing to cut that. This threat is essential. This threat to essential services and the appearance that former soldiers had become political pawns drew an angry response from veterans organizations, putting House Republicans on the defensive. In a May 11th opinion piece in Military Times entitled, quote, "Our budget cutting plan doesn't harm veterans," Veterans Affairs Committee Chair Representative Mike Bost reassured former service members that their quote, earned benefits will never be scrutinized and, quote, their health care will never be compromised. Well, 22% cut, that kind of feels like a compromise. The eventual debt ceiling deal preserved the VA budget, thanks in part to public outcry. In a Wall Street Journal article after the dispute was settled, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy boasted the Republicans were not only, quote, meeting our obligations to veterans, but fully funding their programs. On Capitol Hill, veterans' entitlements went in a matter of weeks from being a political football to a sacred cow once again, to the relief of many. But now, congressional leaders are signaling that any temporary ceasefire over veterans' health care and how to fund it is over. And keep in mind, we have a shutdown that they're threatening us with now. The Senate Veterans Affairs Committee will soon be considering new bills that would force the VA-run Veterans Health Administration to divert an even bigger share of its $128 billion annual budget from direct care to Medicare-style reimbursement of private sector doctors and hospitals enrolled in a veterans community care program. which was created by the Trump administration's Mission Act 5 years ago. Oh, okay. Sorry. Let me be a little bit more clear. I guess I was incorrect about that. What they have, because what the Veterans Affairs, what VA has is, you've probably heard of like VA hospitals. They have more of a system that's like what is it? What's the system I'm thinking of? The NHS. They have a system more similar under the VA right now as the NHS, where the government owns the hospitals. They employ the people. They do all the stuff and everything in between. And they want a bit of that, and they want a part of that to move to a more reimbursement style, the same way that we have Medicare, where you go to hospitals that aren't owned by the government, but the government pays for pretty much everything. You've already paid into that system. You're now receiving your benefits aren't you're getting all of the actual care from private institutions that are being reimbursed by your tax dollars, basically. Bipartisan fans of the privatization scheme are not trying to amend the Mission Act of 2018, which opened the floodgates of outsourcing in ways that would ensure they will never be closed. Leading the charge are far-right Republicans, an embattled Democrat seeking re-election from Montana, and a recently rebranded independent from Arizona who has reeled in millions of dollars from Big Pharma and other healthcare industry donors. I wonder who that could be. A system worth saving. A system worth saving. The VA's Undersecretary for Health, Dr. Sharif El-Nahal, recently urged 9 million VA patients to stick with their primary healthcare system because, quote, study after study shows the quality and patient safety is at least as good, if not better, than our private sector counterparts. The American Legion expressed the same sentiment when they called the VHA, quote, a system worth saving because of its unique expertise and vet-centric culture. Keep in mind, this is basically like, the difference between the VA and, let's say, going to any kind of private institution is going to be that the VA is there primarily to offer you healthcare, to make you better, to, keep your health in check. That is the sole goal. They do not run on a on profit the same way any regular Joe Schmo hospital that you go to. They, on the other hand, are trying to capitalize on you being sick and hoping that your naivete around that experience allows them to run a ton of exorbitant tests, do a bunch of exorbitant procedure, and overall just kind of bilk money out of the patient. Now, this would be coming out of the tax dollars of Americans to fund the VA, but what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is we're going to see the cost, most likely, of care, because it's arbitrarily decided, remember, the cost of care for veterans to go down in terms of, from the private sector. What's going to happen, what I predict is going to happen, is the VA is going to continue to cost a certain amount of money to run. The organizations, any of the hospitals, any of these private sector hospitals are going to lower their prices because at the end of the day, they know they can. They're going to lower their prices to create a narrative that, oh, well, you see, the private sector brought in all of these savings. Meanwhile, the government-run system continues to cost the same amount of money that it always has. And what you're going to end up seeing is more calls for more privatization. And the minute that happens, you will see the Walmartification of VA hospitals. VA hospitals are going to go from publicly funded and government-run health facilities for the betterment of veterans to, well, now that the private sector has taken on all of veterans' health care, when we were just doing a bit, we could write that off. We could do discounts, but now, we're taking on all veterans. We need more research. We need more money. We need more money for procedures. And now suddenly you're going to see, slowly but surely, prices go up and up and up and up until more of taxpayers' money is going towards lining the pockets of hospital corpos. That's at the end of the day, the entire game. This is a long game. If by any chance, I catch the ear of even one veteran, please, I implore you, do not go down this road of privatization for VA healthcare. I implore you, because you will receive the same kind of care and overly expensive care that the rest of us receive. That professional advice will not be followed if Congress passes any part of of S 1315, the Veterans Health Empowerment, Access, Leadership, and Transparency for Our Heroes, or the Health Act, so co-sponsored by Senators Kyrsten Sinema and Jerry Moran. A companion bill in the House is sponsored by Mariannette Miller Meeks and John Tester, who chairs the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, has yet to be named or numbered bill that reports indicate would similarly enrich 1.2 million federal contractors while not doing much to improve their own service delivery as unnecessary competitors with almost 1,300 VHA facilities around the country. Sinema, Moran, and to some extent Tester all cater to the popular fantasy that VHA patients, unlike any other healthcare consumers in America, should be able to self-refer to doctors, hospitals, or clinics outside their own federally funded, quote, network, the in-house care delivered by the VHA, which has been constructed to serve very particular military-related healthcare needs. Supporters have constantly assured former service members that the resulting bills for a newly created private care program in 2023, over $40 billion, will be paid by the VA. At the same time, they promise the VHA will have the money to adequately staff and maintain its own system so it can continue to provide all eligible veterans and high-quality care they originally signed up for. So let's be clear. Let's highlight this really quick. Let's see. Unlike any other healthcare consumers in America, should be able. There it is. That's what I want. Oh no. VA patients, unlike This is what I want. So let's kind of analyze this a little bit, right? VA patients. God damn it. I'm mad at undid it when I scrolled up. Okay, here we go. VHA patients, unlike any other healthcare consumers in America, should be able to self-refer to doctors, hospitals, or clinic outside their own federally funded network and in-house care delivered by the VHA. So let's understand what that means. If you're a veteran, right? If you're a regular person, if you're like me, take me and take any veteran. Are we healthcare professionals? Are we doctors? Do we have degrees? Do we have an understanding of healthcare? The answer is no. And what this is smoke and mirrors, because what they are attempting to convince people of is that, look, veteran Bob, and look, Josh, you know the kind of healthcare you need. You know the kind of healthcare that you want. You know the doctors that you want to go to. You can be you've educated yourself. Now, in reality, have I educated myself? Has veteran Bob educated himself? No. We don't have degrees in anything. You know what we see? You know what our education is? Ads. Advertisements are our education. Every single day, every single American is bombarded with advertisements for hospitals, for pills, for programs, for everything surrounding healthcare. Every single day you are bombarded with propaganda, with advertisements telling you that you are smart enough to watch this ad and know that you need this procedure or this drug. And what they are doing is trying to empower you to make the wrong decision, because they know that as an American, as a regular person with a normal job, probably, and if you're a veteran, you also have a normal job, you don't have time to do the research. You don't have time to understand the nuances of medicine and of medical procedure. As a veteran and as consumers of healthcare, we trust the doctors that we see. And we trust the doctors that we know have gone through the incredibly lengthy process to be those doctors. And what these senators would like to do is like to take that trust and shift it from the doctors you might know to the ad that you're going to get. That's going to say that 90% of doctors agree, this other thing. Because are you ever going to find the source? Are you going to go, research, oh, is that true? Do 90% of doctors recommend this drug for this hyper specific thing? Oh, I typed in my symptoms on WebMD. It said I'm dying in 48 hours. There's an ad as I scroll down. Oh, well, you think you have these symptoms, this drug might help you out. What they would like to do is make it so you're as free as possible to be uneducated about your own healthcare, about the process of medicine, so that they can fill the gap. And specifically when I say they, I mean Kyrsten Sinema, Jon Tester, anybody else who supports this. When I say they, I mean their donors' agenda. Their donors want people free to figure out for themselves which drug to take. To go, I don't know, this one has the blue can, the blue bottle, and it says it's best for people under this age, but this one also says this other thing that's similar, but there's some differences. And, I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but, if I, my dog, I can find the doctor as long as they can find a doctor to tell you the thing that they want you to hear. Who are you going to trust? Your own medical diagnosis, or a doctor who's been paid to say, nope, this drug is the one. We find that this drug helps most people. Go watch TV for a bit. Go see one of those drug ads where there's like a million side effects. They want people to have no grounding, no ability to actually, to have to be confronted with, you have this drug and of like a million side effects. And then you have this drug with a million side effects. And they want you, the consumer, to be able to go, to have the freedom to make an uneducated guess. That's what they want. Because they benefit from uneducated guesses. Paying simultaneously for in and out of system care is not a business model any reputable healthcare economist would ever endorse, not to mention any multi-state healthcare system seeking to avoid bankruptcy. At Kaiser Permanente, for example, bean counters would quickly point out that steering Kaiser's slightly larger patient population with no threat of financial penalties to competitors in 8 states in the District of Columbia would soon lead to in-house service cuts, staff layouts, and widespread facility closings. Under the guise of expanding veteran choice, the Health Act would, according to its co-sponsors, codify and expand the current criteria for determining when a veteran is eligible to receive non-VA care. Where did those criteria come from? The Trump administration. Robert Wilkie, Trump's second VA secretary, used federal rulemaking to implement the Mission Act with a set of, quote, access standards that steered patients outside the VHA based on their, quote, drive times to and, quote, wait times for appointments, as reported previously in the prospect. Current VA Secretary Dennis McDonough has had the opportunity to undo the institutional damage done by his predecessor since early 2021. A relatively easy first step would be to reverse Wilkie's decision not to count telehealth when delivered to the VHA as a form of, quote, access to care. This has led to annual expenditures of up to $1 billion or even more on appointments outside the VHA where telehealth is deemed to be accessed. Let's see. McDonough has yet to initiate his own broad administrative rulemaking process or even narrow. And okay, let's be clear. This is the problem with Democrats. Why was this not done in the first, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years? I guess 3 years, because we're not on the 4th yet. Why? Because unfortunately, there is a liberal tendency to just want to keep things functioning as they are in the moment they take power. So when Republicans fuck things up, Democrats come in and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. We just need to manage the fuck up. We don't need to, we're not going to replace the floorboards after the spill. We'll just get through it. We'll clean it up and we'll just kind of live with the stain on the floor. If adopted, the Health Act would make that impossible by turning Wilkie's drive and wait time standards into federal law, amendable in the future only by Congress. The legislation also specifically prohibits VHA telehealth services from counting as access to care. The most pernicious provision in the Moran-Sinema bill adds, quote, veteran preference as a reason to seek private sector care. According to this provision, even if the VA can provide high quality, and we all understand this, right? Where it's people have preferences, but how many of us have family members who take, this or that drug, right? And you've heard that it's actually damaging and not doing the thing that your family members think, but because they like it and because they've been using it for a long time, because, they got it recommended from their doctor, who, by the way, got it recommended to them by, health, what's the word I'm looking for? Drug companies sending them a bunch of goodies. It's just a bit of a game there. And how many people have had to be like, this isn't helping you, or this isn't why is your doctor having you go through this? Or, why are you so adamant about taking this specific drug when it shows that it's actually probably damaging you? And we see this. And again, it's the they want you to have the right to be tricked. That's what they want. They want you to make an uneducated decision. The bill would also set up a pilot program allowing veterans to receive outpatient mental health or substance abuse treatment in 5 test locations without any prior authorization or oversight by their VHA clinicians. As an analysis of the bill by the Veterans Health Policy Institute points out, the VA secretary could be impaired nationwide. Lovely. Paying VA vendors more. While the proposed Health Act does not impose much needed wait time standards, quality measure, or training requirements on private sector providers, it would allow the VHA's third-party administrators, TriWest and Optum, and a United Health subsidiary to pay more money to private doctors and hospitals that join the VCCP. Some providers have been reluctant to enter the VCCP because they would be reimbursed based on Medicare rates, which some consider too low, particularly given the complex nature of VHA patients. One enthusiastic backer of the Health Act is Concerned Veterans for America, CVA, an AstroTurf group with Koch brother funding, wonder why, and close ties to Donald Trump. The CVA just launched a website to help veterans access private sector care, but that requires first establishing eligibility for the VHA itself, which CVA has long wanted to dismantle and replace with a voucher system. Again, private industry, they would rather it be a voucher system because they're invested into hospitals, and they would love if incredibly expensive veteran care would go to hospitals. They want that kickback. Sadly, the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars have both signed on as Health Act endorsers, even though in their official statements, neither favors privatization. The VFW is on record objecting to the very access standards the bill codifies into law. Anyway, but yeah, this is I can't stress enough. There's a lot. It's a long article. I would say go read the rest of their article. We left off on paying VA donors more, by the way. VA vendors more. Sorry. This is the case at the end of the day. The VA is an institution by and for veterans. It is an institution whose, at its core, is interested in the care and well-being of veterans. What Republicans and the independent Kristen Sinema would like to do is turn it into a for-profit institution. Make it so that, the actual end of the day goal is to deliver profits to shareholders through the through the pricing of veterans care. And if you're a veteran and you would like your care to come with no strings attached, that your service to this country is the only price you should be paying for your health care going forward, I would be very much against this. But if you think to yourself, if you're a veteran and you think, well, you know what? It's just, I would feel better if somebody was making money off of me being sick and recovering from being a veteran, then by all means join that system. But understand that you will be left in rugged capitalism the same with the rest of us. The thing that they tell, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.